All right, good evening, everyone. My name is Michael Romani. I am the owner and lead instructor of Heatholders Tactical Firearm Training. I am an NRA certified basic pistol instructor. Please visit us if you have time and at your leisure at www.heatholdershtx.com. Listed below, I have invited other instructors to join us. Hopefully they join the call shortly. I know one of them was having technical issues, but we'll go ahead and get into it. Really good presentation tonight. We will be recording it, and I'll get you the link and the resources that we have available for you as soon as we're done. Any questions before we begin? Anybody having any audio issues, anything like that?
Nope, doing good.
All right. All right, so what's the purpose of this particular session? All right, so we're going to provide a general overview of the new law, okay? We're going to discuss the impact of the law within our communities, and we're going to clarify common misconceptions about the law. Hopefully we go over enough things so you say, hey, all right, this started to make sense. I thought it was this, but now I can understand what it's really about. Okay, then we're going to provide advice and resources for further training. Now that we have a law like this, it is extremely important, and I will stress it at the end, how vital it is to not only stress training for ourselves, but for our loved ones, our friends, and other members of our community, which is the basis of this call in general. All right, so here's a disclaimer, okay? I am not a lawyer. And I need to say that, and I say that in all of my classes. I put this same disclaimer up. This does not constitute as legal advice. If you are going to carry a firearm on your person and you have very specific questions about how it pertains to you and your legal background, maybe, it is best to consult a lawyer or someone with the, I guess, legal prowess, maybe a representative of a gun advocacy group, anything like that, all right, if you want to. I am an instructor, so what I'm going to be doing is giving you the same teachings that I get in my state-regulated courses and the things that we are allowed to teach in our courses. Make sense? So as somebody who carries a gun every single day, I can give you that, right? I can say this is what we would do and how we would do it to make sure you're safe while you're out there doing the same. All right, so constitutional carry, let's get into it, okay? What exactly is it? So this law says any law-abiding Texan or person visiting the state, all right, even people outside of the state who are at least 21 years of age can open carry or conceal carry their firearm without needing a license to carry. All right, so go ahead and take a moment, read that. That is something that I think, just looking at some faces here, some people didn't know. So yes, if you are in Louisiana and you come into Texas, Oklahoma and you come into Texas, New Mexico, you are now someone, if you meet the legal parameters, who can carry your gun in this state legally. So that's what constitutional carry and this Firearms Carry Act of 2021 has done. All right, so let's break that down a little more. Anyone who can legally own a firearm can carry it. Remember, I talked about your own legal background and how it may pertain to you and your situation. Maybe you've had some misdemeanors in the past. You want to seek adequate legal advice to make sure that you understand how it works for you. But yes, if you can legally own a firearm, then you can legally carry it now. That's what that means. So you no longer have to obtain a license to carry your firearm on your person. So I know we're kind of beating a dead horse with that, but I've learned that you needed to say it a few different ways to avoid some of the questions that come after. All right, so you can legally carry it on you and you don't have to have a license to carry anymore. But we'll talk about why it's still important to get one a little later in the presentation. The Firearm Carry Act, all right, applies to both handguns and long guns. So that's another important point to stress, just in case you didn't know. And what I mean by long gun, all right? So I have my AR-15, as we say in the gun community, that may or may not be mine, okay? I don't know where this came from, but it's just in my house, all right? But make sure that's clear. So this would be considered a long gun, all right? And what they're doing now is I can get a stock device here where I can fold this stock down. I don't have one on this particular rifle, but I can fold this stock down. So it would take away the length of it and fold this against the body of the rifle. That would make it concealable in my backpack. All right, I'd be able to put this inside of my backpack. All right, and that's where that act comes in. So now if I have my rifle in my backpack in a public area, okay, and I'm able to fit it in there, no one can say, if I'm not breaking any laws about zones or where the government says we can't carry, no one can say anything. I can legally carry this long gun in my backpack based on this constitutional carry law. All right, so what has not changed, okay? So please pay attention to this specifically, okay? Citizens must still abide by the licensed or unlicensed carry restrictions of private businesses. What do I mean by that? Okay, so HEB, Walmart, TJ Maxx, Ross, if they have signs posted, all right, the legal signs posted that you cannot bring either a concealed or open carry weapon into their facility, that still stands. All right, license to carry, constitutional carry only goes toward the public grounds, okay? So that's one thing that you need to make sure not only that you understand, you pass that teaching on to your friends, family, anyone, so they don't end up in trouble thinking that this new law breaks down all those barriers. It does not. You can still carry your firearm in your vehicle. That has not changed. All right, so best way to do it, obviously, is keep it concealed in your vehicle where no one can see it, all right? They're making all of these devices where you can put the gun between your legs, underneath the steering wheel. That has never been a good place for it, especially in the view of an officer if you were to get stopped or something like that, all right? Make sure it is concealed somewhere to where it's maybe easily accessible if you need it for safety, but completely out of sight for everyone else outside of the vehicle. So there are still restricted areas such as airports, government buildings, schools, etc. So it's a long list to get to of areas that are restricted, but I will be sending you resources in your emails that go into better detail about this, all right? So you just need to know that you need to do your research, all right? So the mission plans the equipment. So if you know that you're going out of town or you want to carry your weapon, you need to know the areas in which you're going to be stopping and if they allow you to carry or not, so you don't get caught up. Make sense? All right, moving on. So who is prohibited from owning firearms under this new state law? Any individual convicted of a felon. So felons, they still, they've even added some prohibitions, but that'll also be in the guide that I'm sending you. So we can go over it really quickly, okay? Felons are still not allowed to carry. All right, this is a little more detailed. Class A misdemeanor involving family members cannot carry firearms. All right, so you want to make sure that you're understanding some of these things that are going on. All right, moving on. Sorry, there we go. A person other than a peace officer or police officer who is subject to a protective order cannot possess a firearm after receiving a notice of the order until that order expires. So if you get a protective order for you from someone else, that negates your right to carry under this new law until that order expires. So any questions so far about these particular prohibitions? Remember, I will be sending you guides that go into better detail about this, and you always want to make sure, this is another specific thing that if you have some things in your background that you're wondering and you really want to take advantage and carry, you need to consult a lawyer to look at your exact misdemeanor, your exact anything you have going on to make sure that you're abiding by the law. All right, so this is, really what we wanted to get into, right? What is the community impact? Okay, so what are we going to see? Undoubtedly, there will be more open carry by everyday citizens. All right, so you're going to see that. There have been laws passed in 2007 for carrying vehicles in your car, in 2015 for carrying them on state university campuses. And in those times, if from the research that I've done, there has been a significant increase right after the law was passed in the presence, right? So you started to see more guns in the open, in people's cars. You started to see more people open carrying on campuses, and then they kind of went down. But undoubtedly, one thing that we're likely to see, okay, is more open carry by everyday citizens. All right, it's not going to be police officers or security guards. It may be just an everyday mom or an everyday dad or civilian carrying. So undoubtedly, you're going to see more of that. Okay, what else are we going to see? We are going to see with these people carrying a lack of firearms training. That's going to become apparent. All right, I can send you pictures that I see on the internet, on Instagram, where a lady was carrying a small Ruger. I forget the name, maybe it was LC9 or something, and it was about to fall out of her pocket, and no one wanted to say anything. That was pretty much the most unlawful carry, that I've ever seen in my life. But if that gun had a trigger issue or anything going on, and it hit the ground, discharged a bullet, and that bullet would have struck someone, that lady would have been going to jail for a very long time. In fact, she didn't even have to hit anyone; she would still be going to jail, most likely. Okay. So we're going to see a huge lack of firearms training. People are going to just be taking advantage of the law without any training at all. And we will watch them carry and notice that they're not doing it the right way. Okay, so a lack of firearms knowledge may cause unnecessary arrests. So we're going to see these type of things happening as the prevalence of people taking advantage of this law. All right, so I say may cause unnecessary arrests because if you think about it this way, remember what I said about private businesses, okay? If you don't have the training to look for a 30.6 on the door, if you don't have the training to look for a 30.7, those specific penal codes that have to be printed on the glass or, on a sign, and you go in there open carrying, right? Look at the history we have now with Walmart. Somebody's going to think they can just walk into Walmart, open carrying on their hip. And if you catch the, wrong officer on the right day, they'll be like, I've had enough, and they will have legal precedent to bring you in. Okay, so we want to make sure that we are adequately trained on firearms. Now, here's one important point I want to make. I have done the research, okay? Other states, I believe it's 19 or 20 other states that have constitutional carry laws. They're, more restrictive in some areas, but this is the largest state. Okay, so I want to stress that. This is the largest state that has a constitutional carry law. So if you want to say it this way, our area, Houston area, is going to be the largest metropolitan area in which a law like this exists. So let that sink in for a moment. Everything that you could possibly see will likely happen here. All right, our metropolitan area is huge. I believe we've already surpassed Chicago for the third largest city in the nation. Okay, so everywhere that has this isn't Texas. They're much smaller than Texas, right? So we're going to see a lot. All eyes are going to be on Texas, so to speak, when it comes to this law. Okay, so what do we recommend for this? If you are somebody who is familiar with firearms, all right, I recommend getting your license to carry. I'm going to stop talking for a moment after I go over these points. Mr. Warnard, are you on the call? make sure one of my colleagues who is a licensed to carry instructor, hopefully he has his, well, even still, we'll go over it and hopefully he'll jump in. So this is why I stress your getting your license to carry, okay? So the benefits include reciprocity across state lines. You can go to pretty much every state that you can think of that's not against guns, right? Not California, not New York, not Illinois, right? But most the southern states, you know, some of the other western states, you have reciprocity across state lines with your license to carry. Right now, that's going to give you great peace of mind when it comes to carrying your firearm on your person and around Louisiana, Alabama, Georgia, Tennessee, all the same, as if the same thing goes as far as carrying your weapon on your person. I would say kind of look at their laws that have to deal with carrying your weapon in your car. Okay, so just make sure you're being good there, but that reciprocity about your firearm on your person stays the same. What do you learn in a license to carry course? You learn the gun laws. All right, so we talked about gun competence. Okay, you learn the gun laws in that specific course. You also learn the rules of escalation. All right, that's another important thing. When to draw your gun is as important as having the license to carry itself. It won't save you if you improperly engage someone or brandish your firearm. Does that make sense? You can't just say, I did this because I have a license to carry. In that class, you will learn the rules of escalation. They kind of go like this. If that person's talking or threatening, you can talk and threaten back. If they hit you, you can hit back. If they pull out a deadly weapon, game's over. Now you can do that. But you learn those different things and those rules of escalation in that course, and you go over it in detail. That's why I cannot stress enough. Make sure you get your license to carry. Please, Mr. Warnock, join. I see you raise your hand. Are you still having audio issues?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, you no, can't hear you. Oh, sorry, sir. No. Oh, well, hold on. Ask to unmute.
You muted it probably.
Nope. No audio. You can call in on your phone. The details are in your email. So we'll wait for Mr. Warnock, but he'll definitely have a lot of good info on this topic right here. All right. So one thing about the license to carry as well is that you get to skip a background check. Okay. I buy firearms all the time. You show them your license to carry. After you've filled out the form, you show your license to carry, they fill it out, and you walk right out. So that's always an extra bonus, right? So I have 2 guns to pick up tomorrow. That's going to be quick for me versus the people who have to wait around for the background check to come back. Okay, so just something there. So a warning here, there is a shooting proficiency test, which is why I want Mr. Warnock to come in and help us articulate that really quickly. I believe he's joining with the phone right now, but definitely understand that there's a shooting proficiency test. So if you turn off your other, wait, let me mute you here. So now you're able to talk, Mr. Warnock.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Hope that echo's not too bad.
Not bad.
I'm just gonna go ahead and turn that off.
Okay.
So give me a second. Apologize.
No worries.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Awesome. Good evening, everybody. Mike, incredible job. Everybody, my name's Will Warren. I'm a licensed carry instructor here in Texas. Been in the industry now for almost 11 years and about 13,000 students. what Mike is talking about tonight is exactly spot on. These are the points and why you want to get a license to carry. We kind of refer to it as the VIP card. We refer to it as to get the ace in the hole. So if you have or know somebody who has a license to carry, make sure you let them know they should continue to have that license. In talking for over 2.5 hours with attorneys about what is happening with the constitutional carry versus the license to carry, they all say the same thing. You'll be able to do a lot more and a lot more versatility. And the most important thing, as Mike has reiterated to everybody, is you'll know the laws. Because when you leave academy and you've had your background check and you strap on your Glock 17 and your Glock 19 and you walk out the door, do you know the laws? Right? Do you have training on the laws? And most people do not. And that's where they're going to get themselves in trouble. Recently, there was somebody here in Texas, they just walked into a post office with a gun on their hip, because they thought the law already passed and they didn't know the federal laws. Now that person may never be able to carry again. That's probably going to end up being a felony. So that's why it's invaluable to get a license to carry, go through the training. And most importantly, if you're going to use this in your intentions or even for home defense, you got to know how to use it. And that's why another benchmark in the license to carry is so important. But great stuff, Mike. I'm right here. I apologize for the technical, but technical is technical. I'm on the phone. I can hear you guys now, and I'm here if you have any questions, or Mike, if you want to bring me up for anything else.
Thank you so much, sir. Yes, we're going to have some dialogue at the end. Please stay with us, and
Yes,
we'll be back with you. All right, so moving on. If you are not familiar with firearms, okay, and this is something that we're getting to know a little better as this law is about to launch, okay? So obviously many Texans have heard about this law. Now they're, buying their firearms. We just came off of the hottest gun year in history, okay? I believe we're at somewhere between 17 and 20 million new gun owners in 1 year. All right, so that's massive. So it'd be one thing if the law passed and people weren't buying firearms. Now we have an abundance of firearm owners, okay? So if you are not familiar with firearms and you fall into that category, let's say that you bought your weapon 3 years ago. That's usually the demographic that I train. People say, well, I bought my firearm some years ago, haven't touched it since, left it there, all right? If you are not familiar with firearms, begin your training as soon as possible. I cannot stress that enough, okay? A gun competent Texas is a safer Texas. I would feel much better. I live out here in Cross Creek Ranch in Fulshire, okay? I would feel much better if my neighbor and the neighbor next to me and everyone and their children knew how to properly handle, unload, all of that, okay? So it's just better, because what we're going to start seeing is a lot of people who have absolutely no gun training bring their guns outside on their person, and then that's not really to sell you any type of fear. That's just statistically what has happened when laws like this have been passed. I did see one of my colleagues come in, and I want to make sure that I get his input on this, because I think it's going to be some good input. All right. So where do you start with recommendations? Okay. I'm sorry. Where do you start with your gun training? Start a intro to handguns course. All right. Shameless plug. Yes, I do teach one, but there are plenty of great instructors. If you're a bit further out in Houston or you already belong to a gun club, then absolutely go start your training. If it's just the basics, all right, everyone should learn it. All right, because I look at everything through a post-apocalyptic lens, right? So if the aliens came tomorrow, are we all adequately trained to fight that type of thing? But I think that with a law like this passing, and you're likely to see other things such as more gun thefts out of cars. So now you have people who don't have weapons, right? Carrying or shouldn't have them, carrying them. It's always best for you yourself to know what to do with these firearms. All right. Also look into private lessons if you know someone doing that. But I can't stress enough the importance of getting trained. All right. YouTube alone won't do it. You need to get into a classroom, really get behind an instructor who's willing to teach you something, and take advantage of that. Let me ask Mr. Cross. Mr. Cross, are you on the call? think I saw you come in.
Yeah, I'm here.
All right, how
Can you
you
hear me?
doing? Yes, sir, I can hear you. So this is a treat. In addition to Mr. Warnard, I asked one of my colleagues, Jonathan Cross. He's actually in Tennessee. Am I correct? Memphis? Is it
Memphis,
Memphis?
Tennessee. Yes.
Yes, sir. And the reason I wanted you to come on this call this evening is because they have recently enacted constitutional carry in his state. All right, so we're going to open it up for questions. And I want, if you could, please, Mr. Cross, kind of let us know some of the things that you've been seeing in the community as a whole. Are there any things that are really frightening to everyday civilians now that the law has been passed? And, you know, kind of things of that nature, because you not only are a firearms instructor and teach, you know, from the basics to the tactical, you also see this, you know, every day, and you gather the everyday citizens' concerns. So I'm going to open it up for questions now. If anybody would like to, you know, go ahead, we're here and available for you. All right, so one thing I do want to know, if no one has any questions just yet, Mr. Cross, so how long has constitutional carry been enacted in your state?
So in Tennessee, we have, it's called permitless carry, which is the same thing, came online on July 1st of this year. People were really concerned and afraid that there was going to be a problem, that it was going to be a shootout at the OK Corral here. That has not manifested itself in the way that people have been concerned about. What has occurred is that you've had some people who, not knowing all the elements of the law, they've run afoul of carrying their firearms into places where they did not, that, you know, you were still required to have a permit in order to carry those places. So for example, here in Tennessee, in order to carry a firearm in a park, you still have to have a permit. So there have been some people who have not had the proper permits, and they've carried their firearm in the park, and the police have been issuing warnings to people with that, you know, I guess giving people somewhat of a little grace period. The other thing we've seen is because people don't, you know, people who are now carrying constitutionally, who have not taken a class that taught them the state laws, especially as it relates to the use of defensive force or deadly force. Some people have been charged with assault because they've been brandishing their guns. They've been using their guns, not necessarily shooting them, but making threats to people because they don't know the legal standard. And the legal standard is very important. So other than those two things, we haven't really had many problems in the month and a half that that it has come online. The criminals are still carrying guns. They were carrying guns prior to this, so the law didn't change anything in regards to that for them.
Thank you so much for that. And yeah, those are some gems there. I saw that Ms. Teresa, you raised your hand. If you'd like to unmute and
yes. Hi, how you doing?
hello.
I'm a first-time gun owner, and I got my license to carry earlier this year, and I would like to carry, you know, pretty much every day, but I haven't done so yet because I don't have the confidence yet. And I wanted to know what advice would you need to gain more confidence and carry?
Okay, I mean, your situation is not unlike, like I said, 17 million new, I believe it's first time gun owners. So you're not the only one in that situation. You said you've already obtained your license to carry, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
All right, so one of the objectives of like a handgun first steps or intro to handgun fundamentals course is to get those insecurities out. All right, so you need to spend time learning the fundamentals. That's really what it's about. When you are able to get the training and put that theory into practice, it helps build your confidence. I mean, literally, bullets downrange is confidence. the more you zero in on your target, the more you understand what you're doing, it's kind of all encompassing, right? So I think
Yes.
one of the biggest things and one of the bonus fundamentals of gun safety is that you engage a target and know what's behind it, right? So if you haven't shot a gun much and you're worrying about maybe if I discharge this weapon in my home, will the bullet go through my kid's room? Those are the things that you learn in an intro to handgun course. I teach one. I know Mr. Warnart at his gun club, they teach one, but that's why I stress getting your training ASAP. It will give you that confidence. You know, a lot of instructors like myself, they'll let you come shoot where they're shooting and they'll say hi to you and, you know, kind of help you progress along. You get a bunch of free advice after the course if you have questions. So that would be my advice to you, man. If any of the other instructors want to add to that, please.
Thank you.
Yeah, Mike. And Mr. Cross, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'll defer to you.
Okay. Yes, ma'am. So I see this every week, ma'am. The way I always like to phrase it with my students is that you're starting a journey. And the journey of learning to use a firearm and become more comfortable, and most importantly, being safe and proficient is part of the goal. And that's going to take some time. Shooting a firearm, a handgun is not easy to do it accurately and safely. And you're going to need to dedicate time at a range and dedicate time at home and constantly understand the safety rules and work within those parameters. But it's not something that happens overnight. It's not something that happens, in my experience, from 1 or 2 times handling your firearm. Because there's a lot of parts to this and a lot of things about training with the firearm that you're going to have to embrace depending on how far you want to get with this, how far you want to be able to take your training and what you want to do. If you want to be able to defend yourself in your home, there's additional training for that. But first of all, as Mike said, I couldn't agree with him more. You have to learn to become proficient and comfortable with your firearm so you can operate it safely and effectively.
Absolutely. We have a, Mr. Cross, did you have anything to add to that? All right. We have a question in the chat about the castle doctrine. So, Mr. Warnart, did you want to, because you taught me that. So I feel safe diverting to you for that particular one.
Yes, sir. So everybody, the castle doctrine is often confused with the stand your ground law, which was in the news not too long ago in Florida. The castle doctrine here in Texas under Penal Code 932 basically protects you anywhere that you can legally carry a firearm. And what that means very simply is if you deem your life is in threat and that you need to use deadly force, that is available to you. That could be in your home, that could be in your front yard, that could be at the gym, that could be at the parking lot of your favorite grocery store. If your life is being threatened with deadly force, you may use deadly force to stop that threat. They also put into that law, so that's north, south, east, west, anywhere in the borders of Texas. They do not allow felons. They do not allow people that are trespassing. They do not allow provoking, so you can't set traps for people in your house, right? And you can't be involved in criminal activity. So they make sure the castle doctrine, Penal Code 932, cannot be used against the person that is stopping a deadly force threat. And as Mike reiterated earlier, that's the nomenclature, that's the verbiage. You're not out to hunt, you're not out to shoot, you're out to stop a deadly force threat. It was deadly force, I stopped a deadly force threat. And that's one of the most important pieces of verbiage to have in your mindset. You're stopping a threat.
All right, thank you so much. Any other questions?
I have a question for you in respect to that. Obviously, I'm in Tennessee, so we have some different laws, but Tennessee does have a castle doctrine law, and it also has a stand your ground law. And the laws are similar, but they're a little different. And so what I heard was a little bit different. And so I'm just curious, in Texas, with the castle doctrine, does the legal standard of means, opportunity, and jeopardy still persist, or are they presumed in your curtilage as well as in your house?
Yes, sir, Mr. Cross. The house is the most coveted and protected in all of Texas. You have more leeway of somebody even trying to get into your home as well as being in your home. The castle doctrine outside of your home is a little bit different. It has to be a little bit higher of a deadly force threat. Here in Texas, if you are not brandishing a firearm, if you're just in somebody's house, you basically don't have any rights. You cannot be in somebody's house. You are burglarizing it, you're breaking in the house, whatever, even if you don't have a weapon, deadly force is available to the homeowner. If you just jiggle the handle, if you try to pop open the window and you're trying to get in the home, hundreds, if not thousands of bad guys are shot, injured, and some are killed every year for just trying to get into the home here in Texas. So there's that old saying, well, if I stop the threat in the front door and I shoot through the front door, do I have to drag them in the house? Not here in Texas. If your intent is to cause harm and to get into somebody's home and to do all that, then deadly force is available to the homeowner under Penal Code 932.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, so we do have one question here. Does a concealed handgun need to be holstered when in your vehicle?
Is that for me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, excuse me.
So I know that it's safe practice to
Yes.
protect the trigger guard and holster it.
So as of September 1st, because that's what we're going on now.
Mhm.
Today, if you had a firearm in your vehicle, you cannot have it out. You cannot have it where it can be visibly seen.
Yep.
September 1st, it can be in your vehicle, it can be sitting on your front seat, and it has to be in a holster, but it can be visual. Now, common practices and best practices says that we never have firearms sitting out in our vehicles
Absolutely.
where law enforcement can see them. They do not want to see your firearm. So best practices says we have it in the glove compartment, center column, we have it on us, we have it somewhere, but we do not have it out. Police officers do not want that, and you're putting a lot of stress into a situation if you just have it sitting out like that. But September 1st, it has to be in a holster, but it can be out and visual in the car.
And yeah, can't stress enough, that's not good practice at all. All right, so I hope that answered your question. I believe, let me see, any more questions? All right, well, yes, sir.
So
Yeah.
if you have a guy at home and then somebody, let's say, try to break into your house, or he's in the backyard, or are you allowed to just get your gun and do the damage, or there's certain guidelines you have to follow before you get engaged and, kill? Or...
Yeah, Alex, it's a great question. Mike, I'll go ahead and take it if you don't mind.
Yes,
Thank
please.
you.
So, number one, Alex, are you in the business? Do you really want to hurt somebody? No. So if they're in your front yard, they're on your property. Now, if they're out there with a handgun and they're trying to attack you, you can lock the door, call the police. So the property outside of your house is a little bit different. The castle doctrine still covers you, but it has to be a deadly force threat. If they're trying to get into your home or they're in your home, deadly force is available to you. But Mike touched on it a little bit, but the legal ramifications are huge. And that is that even though you stop the threat from somebody trying to get into your home or they're in your home, you can still be civilly sued under Penal Code 906 in the state of Texas. So anybody can sue anybody for anything at any time in the state of Texas. So while you can, should you? But the best thing to realize, of course, is we're not in the business. We don't want to take a life because somebody's stealing our barbecue. But if they're trying to get into my house and they want to harm my family, then I'm going to do what I've got to do. But the legal ramifications for the civil lawsuit are massive here in Texas, and we have zero protection against a civil lawsuit. So in summary, if a guy breaks into your house, you stop a threat from them trying to get in your house or in your house, the family of that person that you stopped can still sue you civilly in court.
Move to Tennessee, because in Tennessee, they have specifically passed a law to give us, if we have used deadly force in a justified fashion, neither the person we used it against nor their family can sue you.
Oh, wow. That's up next then. That needs to happen.
Yeah, so you guys need to lobby for that.
Yeah, but you just asked a bunch of Texans to move to Tennessee.
Well,
The proudest group of people I've ever seen in my. I'm originally from Virginia. Okay,
We know
I've been
better.
here 8 years. These are proud people. Okay,
well, there's only two places I'd live, Tennessee or Texas.
that makes sense, especially based on the topic that we're on. All right.
I just have one more comment, Mike, real quick.
Yes, sir.
Folks, I just want to thank Mike for putting this together. This is a tremendous resource that you all have come in, and we really want to thank you for coming in tonight. And Mike is an incredible leader of his community. He's an incredible instructor, and I just want to thank him for the opportunity. If you had any further detailed questions, he'll give you my phone number. You can reach out to me, but great job tonight. Thank you, Mr.
so much,
Ball.
sir. And I definitely thank you for allowing me. I wanted to make sure I had your permission to send your number to the group if they are seeking any kind of training, and I'll get them in touch with you, or for the license to carry especially. Also, sorry here. I had a question about how this pertains to felons. I don't know if you came in a bit late. I'm going to send you literature that specifically elaborates on how it deals with felons, especially the new law. What I can say outright is that everything that existed before rolled over for felons. So it doesn't give felons any new license or any new rights that are different from the old. And it actually adds on things it added on types of offenses that can no longer carry under the law. So it's actually a bit more restrictive for felons in class A and B misdemeanor. Do we have any other questions? We'll be glad to take them. Yes, sir, Mr. Jose. I'm sorry, Mr. Jose, 1 second. Mr. Martin, did you have a question at any point? I think I may have skipped you.
Yeah, I just had a question for John. You say it's been a month and a half since this constitutional carry in Tennessee. When you go to Walmart, do you see anybody carrying?
So in Tennessee, it has, we've always had the ability to open carry with a permit. And so it has not been uncommon to see people with permits openly carrying the firearm in places like Walmart. And so we still see some of that now. Most people still are carrying concealed, but occasionally in Walmart, Sam's Club, other stores, Kroger, I'll see somebody openly carrying. People in Tennessee are actually very used to it because our gun permits were never concealed carry permits. They were called handgun permits. And so under a handgun permit, you could carry openly or concealed. And then last year you had a new permit that came online that was a concealed only permit. And so if you had that permit, you could only carry concealed. But our typical permit has always been what is now called the enhanced permit. So you could carry openly or concealed. And people pretty much have been used to seeing people openly carry here.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for that. Mr. Jose, sorry, we'll get to you now. Your question.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Mr. Michael. I appreciate this. My wife is actually the one that signed me up for your class or for this presentation, this meeting. So I'm going to give her a big kiss when I get home. It's very educational. I appreciate it. You did a great job in, doing the presentation. The only question I have is that it comes September 1st. I know you're promoting that everybody should have some sort of gun proficiency and law proficiency in before they start carrying their weapons. But is it necessary to take a class if you are familiar with that? Can you still carry your weapon in your vehicle away, hidden away from the officer, and if given you get pulled over from an officer, you wouldn't get in trouble for having your weapon in your vehicle.
Absolutely. I understand what you're saying. So
Okay.
I made sure to elaborate in my recommendations, because there are people, if you are familiar with firearms, I stress getting your license to carry, and I outline those benefits. But aside from all that, yes, you can still carry in your vehicle. In fact, it actually loosens those restrictions a little bit. Like Mr. Warnart said, you can have it holstered and out, like in your passenger seat. It's not good practice, of course, but
Right.
I mean, as far as the gun community is concerned, most people have what's called a truck gun, right? Whether it's a rifle, shotgun, handgun, you have a truck gun. Common and safe practice is to put it somewhere that you wouldn't reach if you had to go in your glove box to get your paperwork. We drive crazy, go over bumps. It may just fall out, if you open your glove box, if that's where you put it. So you just want to make sure, obviously we have oil and gas out here, construction, people need their firearms for all those types of reasons. So if you are familiar with firearms, then yes, please, it's the best thing to do is to get your license to carry, continue to train and get your proficiency, but it's not required. You can carry.
Okay. So the only benefit to take your class and your license to carry is if you happen to go out of state. Most of my life I lived in Texas. So
Absolutely.
the only benefit is that I will be covered under the constitutional law that to carry in other states as long as I have a concealed handgun license.
So that is the reciprocity. Yes, you are covered by the reciprocity, but I wouldn't say the only benefit to take the class. Now, the one thing that I noticed about, let's say, a handgun first steps class like I teach, okay? So one of the things that I didn't realize, I wasn't marketing to this type of student, but I've gotten the most of, is people that need to revisit the gun fundamentals. We all have things that are burned in us and like, oh, I can shoot, but where? Are you shooting center mass and getting the head? Are you shooting center mass and shooting off top left? So, it's actually doubly important now, because not only do we want to get on target and make sure that we are, proficient with guns, when it comes time, God forbid we ever need to use it, I always think about the, bonus fundamental, which is you need to know what's behind your target. So that makes your accuracy the most important thing going there.
True.
All right, because my room is the game room is between my room and my children's. So if I engage a target that's outside of my door, I can't do that. I can't do it. I have to come out and see them, because that projectile may go into my children.
Right.
So these are all benefits to having those classes. But if you're out doing your thing and working, yes, by all means.
Mike,
Yes, sir.
Mike, Jose, I heard a little bit differently than what your question. I want to make sure we get it fully covered. The bullet points are simple that Mike pointed out earlier. Yes, you can go to other states, but one of the most important things, you can buy firearms faster. Here at Texas Gun Club right now, the gentleman just had a license to carry. He bought his firearm in 5 minutes. The gentleman standing next to him is still waiting, and it's been an hour and 45 minutes because Nick says to come back for his background check. Normally, licensed carry holders in the state of Texas do not get traffic tickets. Now, you can't hold me to that because it's only 97% of the time, but normally you do not get traffic tickets anymore. One of the most important things I heard you say, Jose, is you've got to know where you can carry. And I don't know about the signage in Tennessee, but the signage in Texas is very, very specific. We, as licensed carry holders, only have 3 signs that we abide by. But a non-licensed carry holder, a constitutional carry holder, if they walk up and it says no guns, it means no guns, and they cannot go in there. Licensed to carry can. So there's a lot of different things, and most importantly is understanding the laws. And what do you do? God forbid, like Mike said, you have to use deadly force. What do you do? What do you say? What don't you say? How do you handle the situation? What is going to give you and your family the best outcome legally?
Right.
That is some of the things that is absolutely essential. And that's where we're seeing people already getting in trouble. They think the law's already passed. They're out gun toting. They're out hanging out. They got their G19 out of the academy. They got their background check. They put a holster on, and now they're roaming around the neighborhood and they think they've all got it all down.
Right.
And the license to carry is invaluable that way. You will understand the laws. You will understand how it all works, and can really help you in the day-to-day with your journey of being able to carry. And
Right.
I'll get back to Mike.
If
Allow me.
Yes,
If
sir.
I could
I was gonna say-
piggyback on that, just he is absolutely right. Being able to go over the law and get the subtleties of the law in a class is invaluable. Let me tell you this: if you and unfortunately, I've had to use my firearm in self-defense before, and I can tell you this: when you're dealing with the police after it, you better be able to articulate under the reasonable person doctrine every element of what happened. And so, in part of that, you really have to know the law to be able to do that. When you're dealing with the police, nothing that you tell a police officer can be used to help you. Everything you tell a police officer can be used against you. So a police officer can't say he said this to me and it benefit you, because that would be considered hearsay. But a police officer can say he told me this, and they can use it against you because it will be considered evidence. So knowing the subtleties of the law is very important. So if you ever have to use your firearm in self-defense, you really want to know the legal standard of means, opportunity, and jeopardy. They had the means to cause me death to great bodily harm. They had the immediate opportunity to do so. They implied or expressed the intent to do so. They had overwhelming force. There was a disparity of force. All of these things go into understanding the law, because means more than one thing. A person can have a knife, a person can have a bat, a machete, or a gun, and they have the means. But it also could be 5 of them, or you could be injured and or older and unable to move and defend yourself normally. You need to be able to articulate that. And one of the things that an official class would do is give you the subtleties of the law. I mean, I really cannot iterate that enough. The subtleties of the law about what you can and cannot do, when you can and cannot use lethal force. There is no substitute for knowing it holistically.
Thank you so
Okay.
much.
Thank you. That was just one of my questions, is that is it required to take your class now that the law
No, sir, not a
license to
requirement.
carry is not required?
Not a requirement.
As a former security officer that I carry, I took classes, level 3. I carried my Smith & Wesson and I carried my shotgun. I was dual certified.
Yep.
So therefore, I never wanted to get the license to carry because I wasn't needing it. And quite honestly, the only place I carry is in my house, just for self-protection in case someone's trying to break into my house. And but taking a refresher course is I totally agree with you guys. It's beneficial. And now that you articulated maybe understanding the laws a little more, because as working for security companies, they do have lawyers that were there to help us in the event something happened. Working in Houston, in downtown Houston, Southwest Houston, it was a nightmare. But I appreciate the comments and the suggestions, and I might have to just sign up and take another refresher course up in the law. But thanks so much. I really learned a lot today, and hopefully you guys can put another one together pretty soon.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Yeah, we may make this, please make sure I've started a group on, Nextdoor, Katie, Fulshire, Richmond shooter community. All right. You can follow Mr. Cross and Mr. Warner. Please let them know or put it in the chat how they can follow you. And I'll make sure to send that information through email as well. But any other questions, Ms. Teresa? I see your hand up. Was that from before or?
No, I have another question.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, I'm kind of confused on the holsters. I have a question about holsters. I saw in the law that you're supposed to carry your gun in a hip holster or a shoulder holster. Is that correct? Are those the only two holsters you're legally able to put in? Because as you know, I'm a woman, and sometimes you might wear a dress, so I can't do and I want to conceal carry. Can you do like a thigh holster? And would that be legal?
So the holster, particularly on your person, I saw the same thing about the shoulder and hip, but I'm thinking it may be about security. I know, Mr. Warnart, if you want to elaborate, but hip meaning, if it's concealed, I think there may be a difference between conceal and open.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, if it's concealed, no one's gonna know you have a thigh holster on. You get what I'm saying? Right. So I saw Mr. Warnart come in if you want to elaborate.
Yes, ma'am. This is what you would learn in your license to carry course, the options. Ladies actually have more options than men. And whether you wear a dress or however you dress, my wife carries in her purse. But you learn all that in a class. That's not something we can do in this forum, but just know that ladies have more options, more innovations, and ladies, believe it or not, can even carry in their bra. So it is available, and this is what you would learn in your license to carry course. Now, getting it out of the holster timely, that's where the journey needs to continue. And Mr. Romney would definitely be able to help you advance into that after you're more comfortable with your firearm, carrying it, and then move into how do you get it out of the holster and be able to, if you had to stop a deadly force threat.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. And Mr. In the license to carry course, man, I was floored by how many options the ladies had to carry. If I'm saying it correctly, the flashbang holster, after that one, I'd seen it all. It was some, nifty bra type holster, never would have known. But yes, the options are plentiful there. But are there any more questions? We have hit the hour mark. So I'll make sure that Jill and Jason, do you have a question?
Hey, Michael, how you doing? Good to be here.
Well.
Just had a question or a comment. If everyone was aware that Texas did pass a holster law as well.
Oh, okay. So that particular one.
Question and comment is everyone aware that Texas did just pass a holster carry law that you can carry your firearm any way you want now?
Well, that's pretty nifty. I mean, and one of the things about getting the training and continuing to look up the laws. So I'm looking at the guides as you are, sir, and just trying to educate myself and saying, now the popular ways to carry, if we wanted to talk about that, would be your hip IWB, which is inside the waistband or outside the waistband, is what you're likely to see for open carry and concealed carry, if you wanted to, but that's an excellent law to look up. I will try to find some concrete literature on that and send it out with the rest of the resources that I'm sending out. Thank you so much for sharing.
And Mike, it is in the packet that we send out.
The U.S. Law Shield?
Yes.
Oh, great. So you will be getting that resource. Thank you so much for making us aware of that. Any other questions? All right. Thank you so much, everyone. I will send you all of this info. Thank you to the other instructors, Mr. Warnart, Mr. Cross, for taking the time to help us. We will set up more of these. All right. So there will be different scenarios, different things that we talk about. Maybe we'll have another one of these constitutional carry for more of our neighbors. So please encourage them to come in and talk and, just give questions and open discussion as we have discussed. Make sure that you seek the training even if you haven't shot in a while and you want to get inside a handgun fundamentals course just to retouch on those basics. Remember, if you don't have your license to carry, we all thoroughly recommend you getting one. All right, that reciprocity, the skipping of the background check. I didn't think he was going to say it in here, right? The not getting tickets. All right, I don't know if anybody else goes on what's that, US 90. by Katy High School, I get pulled over there all the time. I haven't got a ticket yet. And that's like number 6 this year I've been pulled over in, and now they're just like, go ahead. So that's always a good thing. Who can argue with that, right? So definitely make sure you take advantage of those. Look out for the resources in your email. I'll be sending those to you, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Thank you so much, everyone, and have a great night.
Thank you.